Hello, students. Can I get a thumbs up or a raised hand if you are able to hear me? My voice is clear, screen is visible. Okay, great. Okay, so let's go to our agenda for today. As usual, we will discuss some tips. I haven't put them here, but I'll do that towards the end into tomorrow's session. We will do chat GPT for our topics because that is the first request that I always get. We'll go slow on coding today, one day. We've been coding nonstop and discussing topics in 7 days, almost 6 days. First day was less of coding, but yes, we did see some tools there also. So today we'll see less of it and let's see some websites as well for AI, ML, and analytics. Sorry, and data science. We'll discuss little bit of logistic regression and k-means clustering. So that's our topic for today. Let's start first with Chat GPT in terms of let's start with this and let's ask Bard and Chat GPT what are the top websites for tell us, give us a list. Kaggle, Coursera, edX, Udacity, DataCamp towards data science, machine learning, KD Learn, Nuggets, Data Science Central, and Analytics Vidya. Right, let's see here. Let's see all of them one by one. Okay. So here they haven't added the links. The links are added in Chat GPT. So let's start with Chat GPT. Towards data science, first site, famous one, obviously. Uh, they have a lot of topics. I used to follow towards data science in the past. And now, due to lack of time, I haven't followed, but they do have good topics and good posts, and you are seeing a lot of things around quantum computing, emerging abilities, SQL, JSON, Python, and so on. So follow such sites. Let's go back and see the second one. I don't know how many of you are aware of Kaggle, right? But Kaggle is also a very, very good site in terms of getting especially data sets and competitions. So one caveat I just want to add is data sets may or may not be exact data, right? Because these are all open source data contributed by people from across the world. So it may or may not be perfect. So there is UFOs, global poverty, Tehran municipality, inflation rate in Asia, and so on, right? Let's just click on see all and let's see data sets. Fatty liver disease, housing data set of 5,000 people in USA, Yahoo Finance, coffee quality data, best video games, obesity, survey of labor and income dynamics, and so on. So that way, lots and lots of uh, data sets which are there on this site. Along with data set, they run a lot of competitions. I haven't participated, but I do keep observing that they regularly release um, uh, competitions, right? So let's just see it. Feature imputation, Kaggle AI report, identifying age-related conditions, and so on, right? So they run competitions. They also very recently launched their models. So trending models that they have, right? So obviously these are not the simpler models that we are discussing, but they are more like audio synthesis and so on, image generation, object detection, model finder for various areas. So video, multimodal, text, audio, and so on. So this is speech to text, text to me, and video audit text. Question writing. So this is somewhat similar to what we are doing in Chat GPT and so on. Somewhat similar. Image classification, image style transfer, and so on. So they have a lot of models here. They also have a lot of code because people contribute code in all of these uh, uh, events that they create, right? So here is the notebook. Let's see the markdown and then the actual code, right? Markdown and then the code. So very good examples here in terms of code. Then obviously there are discussions. There is a forum, so you can discuss a lot of different areas in terms of Kaggle. As far as I remember, GitHub was bought by Microsoft and Kaggle was probably bought by Google, but I don't clearly remember. I may be wrong, but something of that sort had happened. And then obviously learning. So there are courses around, let's see, intro to machine learning, right? So if you want to go through the course, you can go through the uh, course as well. And obviously user ranking, documentation, and so on, right? Towards data science also has many areas. If I remember correctly, obviously there are editors picks, there are features which they do, right? Um, Deep dives, author resources, many sections, right? That are there here. Let's see the third site. This is a famous one. Vidya obviously is a Hindi word or Indian Sanskrit type, right? So this is very famous site. I use it regularly to get articles. Today also we use one of the articles from there. The advantage with analytics Vidya I have observed, and to some extent with Geeks for Geeks also, is that they write things in a very simplified manner. So you can absorb it very quickly, right? So Analytics Vidya is another site which is helpful in terms of things. Let's go to read a blog. Okay, they have a error. Fine. Learn through courses. This is working, right? So we'll see the free courses, most popular free courses. Let's see them. Let it load. Till then, we'll open the next site. Data Camp. This is also another site that I have used to teach students. It has changed slightly, but they used to have very good examples and courses which were free for students. So I don't know if they still do that, but they used to give free courses for faculties and students. So in case you register with a college ID, they will give you a free course uh, in terms of many of the areas. KD Nuggets is again more blogging type of a site, just like the first one that we saw, which was towards data science. So you will see here they have a newsletter and lot of good articles and blogs that they post. We discussed a bit of principal component analysis the other day. So breaking down auto GPT and so on, right? So many such things on this site are available. You should follow some of these sites on a regular basis. Machine Learning Mastery. So this is another site which is like tutorials plus ebooks and so on. I haven't used this much, but I have heard good things about them as well. Does everybody know Coursera? Can I get a thumbs up if everybody knows Coursera and Kaggle? Okay. So I don't have to teach you much on this. A lot of good courses are available in terms of uh, Coursera, right? You can do courses from so many universities which are good. They are free audit type of things. Medium is obviously overall site for blogging kind of and writing articles. It is not specific to uh, only data science as I understand, but it's for writers, right? So in that sense, you can pick it up and find topics that are of interest to you and write from and pick up from there. GitHub, many of you might be knowing. GitHub, although it is a code repository, but people store a lot of documentation as well. And one way to check is I go to the trending repositories, right? So go to the trending repositories and you will be able to see Data Talk Club, Chat All, something is going on, Chat GPT, and so on. So all these free code camp, free programming books, prompt engineering, we'll see a bit of prompt engineering, Bard API, and so on, right? So that way, trending topics tells us a lot of things. Obviously, you have to go there and see the data science topics. Data Science Central again is more of a blogging and articles kind of a site, unlike Kaggle and GitHub, which are slightly differently, they are differently oriented, right? So this is another site you can check in terms of that um, data science, right? That might be helpful. Let's see if any major one we have missed. edX is somewhat similar to Coursera. Udacity is also similar to Coursera and edX. DataCamp we have discussed towards data science. These all are discussed now, right? So these are some of the sites that you should be aware of. You can add it into hints and so on, uh, and explore these. Yes. So Pratik says, I know Kaggle. Very good. Um, we pick up a lot of data sets from there, right? That is why. Okay. Okay. Let's go back. Let's use these, right? Now let's go back to our topics. Our topics are obviously the first one is K-means clustering. So let's ask ChatGPT to explain it to us. Then I will explain it to you on Paint. Explain K-means clustering, right? Let it do its work. Till then, I will open Paint. I briefly discussed it earlier, but let me explain the concept. So let's say you have concentration of data in 2, 3 places on your graph, right? And there are few dots here and there and so on, right? My screen is visible to all of you, right? Yes. So how does k-means clustering work? First, what you do is you do something called as an elbow method. Okay. And with that elbow method, you find out how many clusters are there likely to be, right? We'll see what it is. Let's say it tells us there are three clusters as we see here. So you can't directly do this, that these are my three major clusters. No. What we do is when it says to us there are three clusters, you assign, let's say, three centroids. Let me do this here. Let's say three centroids are assigned like this with a random seed, right? And they try to find out how far away the points are to it. See, this is not forming a cluster. It's only one-sided, half of it, right? So in the next iteration, randomly it will move. So what will it do? It will do this. We'll move it here, right? Then again, we will see. It's forming a heavy cluster here, but again, it's not forming a full kind of a closed loop. Again, we will slowly move it, bring it here. Now it seems that these points are making some sort of a cluster and this is finalizing for us. Are you getting me? Again, same problem. This is there, but it is not forming a cluster. So what do? We move it. It might move here and there anywhere, right? But that is not going to solve the problem. As it keeps moving, it finally reaches here, second cluster, third cluster, right? Some points are there which will be covered or whatever, right? But the point is, we initially randomly initialize the centroids, right? And then move them and try to form clusters for in this k-means clustering. So there are two things, three steps here. Elbow method to find out how many approximately clusters are there. This looks like elbow, that's why it's called an elbow method. Where it breaks like this or turns is what tells us the number of clusters. And from there, we randomly initialize some of the variables, centroids. I mean, we randomly initialize the centroids and they keep moving till they form proper centroids, right? Which are sort of equidistant to um, things. So Sheikh Abdul asks us, please tell about future plans after degree. So hold on to till we discuss these topics for some time and then we'll discuss, right? Okay. Now let's go back and open it. So see, this is the tutorial of K-means clustering on analytics Vidya, right? Before K-means, after K-means. Same thing that I was explaining to you, right? Now let's see firstly what is clustering. So clustering is for, we have n number of unlabeled multivariate data sets like dogs, cats, whatever. The technique of segregating these data sets into various groups on the basis of having similar features and characteristics is called clustering. To give you an example, you could group like this: dogs, cats, birds. You could group based on other parameters as well, right? But it doesn't need any supervisor because there are patterns which are hidden inside the data set itself. As you see here, if you look at it, all three are distinct. It could be either the shape or it could be, we have given it separate color, but the values in itself is forming a pattern here and here based on the two parameters or factors on the axis, right? Now, what is k-means clustering? It is an iterative way that divides the group into n data sets into k different clusters based on similarity and their mean distance from the centroid, right? Which I was explaining. How do you work with it? I just explained it, but select the value of k to decide the number of clusters. Select random k points that will act as cluster centroids Assign each data point based on their distance from the randomly selected point centroid. Place a new centroid and then repeat step 3. Right? Keep repeating until you get it. You get the actual output. Right? They haven't explained. Um, they haven't explained the elbow method here, but that is what you do. In other notes that I have given, you will be able to see it. So let's see the code as well. They also have a video. So let's see that very quickly. I don't think it will be a long video, and then we'll see the code. If it doesn't load, we just leave it. Leave it. Okay. Okay. So at the bottom, they have given the elbow method. Yes. Here. So let's see by running this example, what all are we importing? We are importing NumPy, which is numerical Python, pandas, which is, uh, as we discussed the other say, panel data, as somebody told me, statistics model as SM, matplotlib, cbon, again for visualization, and so on, and sklearn.cluster. And from that, we are importing k-means. Let's see where the CSV is, because we will need the CSV. Okay, let's see if it's available on the internet and we can download it. Country clusters is available here. Let's see the file if it is the same one. It has 167 rows and 10 columns. Let's download the code. And let's download the dataset also. Yeah. Let's load it into our Anaconda Navigator. Let's go to our Python exercises. Let's load both the files. Yeah, so I have uploaded the file, right? Now let's open and see country data.csv. So we have country, child mortality, exports, health, imports, income, inflation, life expectancy, total fertility or something, and GDPP as per purchasing power parity, I guess. That is why it is P. And let's open the file. Okay. Elbow method and the clusters. Great. So the whole thing is running. So obviously we have the clusters. I'll try to simplify as much as possible. I had actually gone through the one there, but it doesn't matter. We will use the one from Kaggle, right? So firstly, we are seeing the data set DF. We are reading it, obviously. After reading, uh, this is yeah, reading and description. We check the correlation. After checking the correlation, we are plotting the heat map. If you remember, I had discussed with you, we do the correlation analysis many times using heat map, and it tells us what is the relationship between various variables. So here on one side, you have all the variables, on the other side also same variables. You will see 111 for the same one, GDP and GDP, it will be one. For others, it will be negative or positive based on whatever correlation. Is it moving with it or is it moving against it, right? Proportional or inversely proportional kind of concept. After that, they are using min-max scalar. This would be normalization, I presume. Once they do normalization, yes, the data looks like this. If you remember, I taught you 2, 3 days back, you normalize the data. Whatever data you have here, right? This is difficult for a model to process. Why? Because you see here it is in 4090, 12,200, 90.2, 10.3, and so on. Whereas on the other side, uh, in between there is 5,900, 19,100, and so on. So we try to normalize the data between 0 and 1. That is what they have done. Once they do the normalization, it is fit for working with the models, right? So after that, uh, uh, this is the elbow method where you try to understand where it's changing and how many clusters you have. So you have a significant break here. So either it will be 2 or 3, right? Let's see what they have taken. They have taken 3, right? Once you have 3, you obviously fit it into the model by passing the data k-means.fit and pass the data and give it 3 clusters. Once you give it 3 clusters, it will work on it. You can also do PCA, which is principal component analysis, to probably decrease the number of things that are there. And finally, from there, you have the 3 clusters with us here in colors, right? So let me quickly recap again. Is everybody with me? Okay, very good, Pratik, if you have done that. See, we are using Seaborn and Matplotlib for mathematical plotting and Seaborn plotting. Again, Plotly is also there. I think this Plotly might not be um in my or some of the visuals are missing. It might be that the library might not be there or something else. So I'll just have to check, right? I haven't run the whole code. It is the notebook which is available, right? So they have obviously sklearn, which is for the machine learning, where they are picking up the clustering, and the PCA, principal component analysis, which is dimensionality reduction, right? And pandas, numpy, matplotlib, and so on. So how do they work? Obviously, they pick up the file. After picking up the file, they visualize the data set and do a describe and all that to get the details of it. Then they do a correlation. After doing the correlation, they do a heat map to check what are the important ones, because how you are going to analyze. So this is very important. After that, they do the normalization where they are converting it into between 0 and 1, all the values. After that, these are two scatter plots and histograms which I have not run, right? And then they do elbow method to find out how many clusters should be there. It has a simple formula given here, right, in terms of how to run. At 3, there is a significant break, so they go for 3 clusters. They feed that into the k-means model by saying clusters 3, and post that they come out with the uh, data transform and the final answer, right? Countries cluster 0, 1, 2. Okay, so that's a quick overview of uh, k-means clustering for us. Let's see other tutorials as well. And let me see if this runs with me without errors. It won't, because I'll have to change a lot of things. I'll have to actually change all these inputs, etc., right? File names, file paths, and so on. Then it will run for me. Rest the libraries are available with me, so that should not be a problem, right? But I hope everybody got the major steps as to what is happening. Why do we do normalization using min-max scalar? Why do we do correlation analysis to understand what is the relation? Are they moving together, moving in the opposite direction? Like, let's see, this is 0.76. So total fertility versus life expectancy is opposites, which is common sense, right? If I am understanding it correctly, right? The more children, with all due respect, a female has, the health may or may not support, right? So that might be the reason for it to be inversely related. Whereas 0.61, life expectancy with income is a positive correlation here, it seems. Which is also obvious. If you can maintain a good lifestyle if you have a good income at times, right? And so on. So that is how the correlation and other things work. Very interesting. Exports with GDPP, they move together. Imports with GDPP, they also move together, and so on. Let's see the negative ones. Child mortality and income, life expectancy. Okay, okay. So that is that on the k-means clustering in terms of the thing. Let's note down in our hints part today all the important steps that we did here so that I can share it with you tomorrow. I'll open that same one, day 6 Excel. So I haven't shared the yesterday's hints with you all, but let's note down today's hints. What are our steps? So the process for k-means clustering. First one is obviously visualization of the data set, correlation analysis, heat map, from there normalization, elbow method, clustering, PCA, and so on as required, right? So I'll share this with you tomorrow. Okay. That is that on k-means clustering. Any questions or any confusion, at least at a high level? Did we understand what happened? All of us? I'm getting only few thumbs up. What about others? Any questions that you want to raise? What is happening? Okay. So elbow method. So what we do is there is a specific formula there. Okay. We have a formula by which we can calculate how many clusters most likely the model will need, right? Or how many clusters there we will need. So that is what we calculate in elbow method. And it's just like our elbow, where it breaks, which means where it turns, that is where uh, uh, we uh, uh, decide and uh, put the that is what we feed into the model, right? That is how it is. So it just plots for us, right? Like, let me show you. So see here, we are putting in a range and calculating km and other things and so on, right? And then what we do is we plot those things here based on the calculations that we have done here, right? For k, right? K and SSD. Once we do that, it plots like this. You see a significant change here, just like our hand, where there is a change. So either you can say 2 or 3, we take 3, and 3 is the number of clusters we will create, right? So you first plot by calculating KM and SSD. Once you plot both the things, wherever you have a break, wherever you have a break, like our hand rotates, that's what the number of clusters that are there. K versus SSD plot. That is what. And we update it from here. Got it? Okay. Again, for that, there is an inbuilt formula which we can directly use, right? In the sense with these 3 steps. Okay. Let's go back to our presentation, K-means clustering is done. Let's see logistic regression. Let's see it from here, right? So see, we studied linear regression, I think yesterday or day before yesterday, where we were trying to plot a line and then try to predict and so on, right? We can do classification using linear regression also by just putting a line in between and considering all the values below it and above it as 2 classes, right? That is something that can be done for y is equal to mx plus c. That is also possible. But better than that, at times, for specific requirements, binary division, what we do is we use logistic regression, right? In logistic regression, like I gave you the home loan example, right? Um, uh, uh, what we do there is based on all the input parameters, we want to decide whether to give loan or not. Yes or no question. At that point of time, we use this. How have they derived it? So same equation that we had for y is equal to mx plus c, they have simply replaced the left side of it with the odds from probability, which is p by 1 minus p. So the probability of event happening upon the probability of event not happening. And then they derive it and come out with a sigmoid function like this, right? They come out with a sigmoid function which is like this for y, right? They for this they for all practical purposes they assume that if you break it from here, the value is 0 here, and once it reaches here, it is 1 here, right? So they break it from here, right? That is how they divide it into two classes. This was your linear regression, where you would predict by having a line based on the values and so on, like this. Whereas a sigmoid function, we are generating from the same equation, but using creating a sigmoid function, and you draw a line here. These all values are zero, these all values are one, right? So that's how you divide and come out with something like a home loan and other examples and so on. They have taken a data set of, I'm not going to use this fish data set. We will see if we want tomorrow, we'll see with the home loan example only, or let me UK home loan example logistic regression. I'm used to doing things in R, but it will be very similar. Loan prediction, right? Yes, this is the one which we discussed, right? So gender, what is the data set having? Loan ID, which is not of much use to us other than a handle. Gender, this is actually a very, very good example to understand the whole process like I was explaining. So let's go through it. I'm not sure whether it is in Python and R, it is in Python, but we'll see it, right? So your data set is how? Your data set is having loan ID, gender, married or not, number of dependents, education, self-employed or not, in terms of work being done, applicant income, co-applicant income, as I was calling it, the guarantor income, loan amount term, credit history. One denotes a good credit history and zero denotes that the credit history is not so good, if I remember correctly. Property area in terms of urban, rural, and so on, and then the loan status, yes, no, and so on, right? You do an info, which obviously tells you how much content and other things are there. Is there any null and other values, and so on. You have a shape in terms of 614 by 13 columns. DF by describe, which gives you mean, standard deviation, and so on, minimum, percentile, maximum values. And from there, we first do data cleaning, which is, this is the part which I was telling you, right? This is where what they do is they fill the missing values with the mean. Here they fill median, right? Based on whatever the type of data type it is and what the values are. Similarly, then they do an EDA, which is exploratory data analysis, which is supposed to be discussed in a day or two, right? They do all kinds of plotting. Plotting in the sense you do a count plot, you do all sort of plots like this to understand what the data is doing. Loan status, yes, no for female, for male, loan status for married, loan status for education, loan status based on property area, urban, rural, or semi-urban, loan status based on self-employed, right? Yes, no for male, female, and so on, right? Uh, um, uh, yes and no, right? So all that kind of plotting they do to understand what it is, right? Then they replace y and n, because again the model will get confused and not process, because y and n is actually characters. So you will replace it by true or false or one or zero. That is where the truth table and logic comes in, right? Then they do all the counts and so on just to check things, right? Dependents also they are converting into 3, 3 plus. 3 plus they are making as 3, and 0, 1, 2 is the same, right? Graduate, not graduate, again 1 and 0. Self-employed, again 1 and 0. Urban, semi-urban, 0, 1, 2. We discussed this slightly the other day, right? And from there, they move on to, they will do the train test split, right? Obviously 60-70 or 70-30, 60-40 or 70-30 or 80-20 based on whatever way we want to break the data set. They have done 70-30, see here, right? Then they run the logistic regression example and they do a fitment, and then they run the logistic regression to get the output. The accuracy comes to be about 79%. right? And so on. The normalization also would be there somewhere. Have I missed it or no? Whatever the case may be, right? But you got the flow, correct? This is a very, very good example to understand logistic regression, especially how to do it in practice. And I actually teach this to students in R and Python both. There is an option to see this in R as well. Home loan example in R for logistic regression. They use MLR library there, very similar to what this is. Yes, the same thing. Just that the difference is this is done in R language. The R language example is a lot more richer in terms of what the work they are doing. So as you can see on the screen, this is a lot more in depth in terms of explanation and so on. This might be decision tree, I'm not sure, or is it logistic regression? This is decision tree, but the point is what I'm trying to put across is this example in R is a is very good. Let me check the second link. Any which ways, right? I will find out the link that I had used using MLR and I will share that as well. Yeah. So you can use such examples and study, right? The topic of loan, please explain again. Okay. So let's take our mandatory 5-6 minute break and then I will explain the loan example again. Okay, Sheikh, let's do that. We'll restart at 8 p.m. It's about 7:51:52. At 8 p.m. I will explain it again. Let me till then download the exact data set so I can discuss with you. Okay, so I have downloaded. Let's start in a minute or so, and let me explain the data set again and spend some time there. Okay, so my screen is visible. We'll start in a minute. How to download the data sets on mobile shake? You can go to Kaggle. So let me show you. Okay, just 1 minute. So see, when you go to Kaggle, you can either go to code section where I am right now. I Googled and found the loan prediction with logistic regression. You go to input. In input, you will see three, right? One is the testing. But I found these results on search. Just 1 minute, right? So you will find data sets here on the right side if you click on input, right? And you can download the right one that is of interest to you. Here there is train, there is test, there is sample submission. This is, I think, the result. This one is the training data set which I have downloaded. This is the testing data set. The overall data set is a mix of both of them, but that doesn't matter. They must have done a 60-40 or 70-30 split, right? You obviously need to log in. Unless you log in, Kaggle will not allow you to download the data set as far as I know, right? So that's one thing that we need to be sure of. And obviously, then there is Notebook, which is the actual code. There is an option to download it as well. You can directly download and use it. See, download the code, download the code. If you want to bookmark, you can bookmark, right? Okay. Does that answer your question? Okay. Now let's go to our Excel sheet and see what this talks to us about, right? So there is loan ID here, which is very straightforward in terms of uh, a loan ID that is applied or an applicant ID and so on, which is given to people, right? Then there is obviously gender, which is male or female. If you see, let's see how many entries are there in this. About 615 entries, right? Okay, or 601, whatever the case may be, about 600. Then there is gender, male and female, married, yes or no, dependents. So somebody has zero, somebody has one, somebody has two, somebody has three plus. Then there is graduate, not graduate, self-employed, yes or no, do they have their own business, their income, and the co-applicant income. If I remember it correctly, this is from United Kingdom, so it might be in pounds. So that is why the income is showing as less, right? Co-applicant income is the guarantor, or we call the co-applicant in many places. Loan amount, how much loan they want to take. Loan amount term in terms of months. Credit history 1 and 0. Do they have a credit history which is proper or not? There are missing values as well. Then there is property data in terms of urban, rural, semi-urban, and so on. And then finally the loan status, right? Now, what is the significance of each of these, right? Loan ID is just a handle. So you can know who you are giving a loan or rejecting a loan to. Gender also to some extent is okay, doesn't matter much because we don't differentiate between giving a loan to a male or a female. Married also to some extent it matters, but not so much, only to tell us if there are dependents. Dependents, although can be without marriage also, it could be old parents, it could be a partner, it could be adopted kids. So it depends. But dependents are the number of people who are dependent on you now, or the loan taker. Graduation, not graduation is important at times because that is an indicator, many times, not always, in terms of the income that the person may be able to generate. Self employed, again, a case which banks especially look at, right? Applicant income, which is there in terms of how much they are earning and co-applicant is earning. Loan amount is straightforward, term is straightforward. Credit history I explained to you yesterday, right? So based on your number of credit card, number of bank accounts, your repayment history, your loan repayment history, credit card history, your um, uh, even your phone bill history and so on, right? Where the property is also important, whether it will have resale value or not. So bank will be careful if they have to fund a rural property with a high cost. It might not get sold. So see here, there is a no. Although the income is good and there are hardly any dependents, the person is married, they are graduate, they are not self-employed, still the loan is rejected, right? So it depends. I was just guessing, but it turned out to be true. So resale value is also important for the bank, right? Because if the person cannot repay, there has to be that. And that is the reason you see all these trends in these data sets. So with time, as you analyze data sets, they will start talking to you, right? In terms of what is happening. No. So why is co-applicant income zero, Abhishek? Because it might be zero for that person. The co-applicant might be a person who does not have an income. It can happen. And few of the cells are blank. So Shalaka, they are blank because there are missing values, right? Because there are missing values. That happens in real world also, right? If we collect, let's say, 6,000 values, either there will be mistakes or there can be something missed in the survey. So what do we do here? Like you can either pick up mean, median, or mode. For categorical values like we see here, you can use mode, which can be used, uh, and so on, right? Mean and median could be used in the other places, whether it has outliers which are big or not, depending on that, we can take a call. Now, why do we do normalization and all this data transformation and cleaning? Because see here it is 0101. Now this is 3 plus. The model gets confused. It is not a digit. So you need to convert it into 3. Anything above 3 plus, we convert into 3 for simplification. Graduate becomes 1, this becomes 0. This becomes 1, this becomes 0. The lowest value in this becomes 0 or 0.1 or whatever, and the highest value becomes 1. Normalization. Co-applicant income, again the same logic. Loan amount, same logic. Loan term, same logic. Because you cannot feed all this into a mathematical model and just expect it to magically understand everything, right? We have how many columns? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 columns which are important for us. Even if we take out these two, which are directly visible to us as not so useful, I would say. Loan ID is just a handle. You need dependents, you need education, you need these, right? But if, let's say, your number of dependents and applicant income and co-applicant income, all three are moving in the same direction, then we can probably safely take applicant income plus co-applicant income in feature engineering, right? Or half of co-applicant income, depending on how we are working with data and so on. So that kind of feature engineering we can do. And that's how all this data set works, right? So mean median mode is one way of filling content. Other than that, there is also another way of doing it, which is uh, using machine learning. So if there is missing value, you train it all the other values and then ask it to fill these values based on whatever model you are putting there. So inside a machine learning model data set, we have another machine learning uh, thing running. So all those kind of things are possible, right? That is missing value treatment. Got it? We don't keep, either we remove them if they are very less and insignificant. That is difficult to decide if they are in the standard range. Otherwise, we treat them with values. Again, that is a data scientist question, and analysis needs to be done based on that, right? For that. Okay. Does that explain the data set shake? And does that answer your question, Shalaka? Can I get quick thumbs up or something to understand if everybody has understood what I'm trying to convey? Okay. Okay. Great. Fine. So that is that on the loan prediction example which we are discussing, right? Let's see few more examples on logistic regression if they are clear enough. I don't think they have an example here. By the way, do you know Bard also gives you the code for all this, the standard boilerplate. Boilerplate means, okay, so let's see the boilerplate code for all the things that we have seen till now. Give me code for simple linear regression. We did check it yesterday, but it will give you a boilerplate. Boilerplate means it is a standard basic code that it will give you, right? Then give me code for multiple linear regression. Now, as you see, again, it has given us some basic boilerplate. Now, let's say, give me code in Python for logistic regression. Let's also put this to Chat GPT and see which gives us better things. So what you can do is you can download the code like this, the boilerplate basic code, and then ask it one by one, what is the logic, what is the logistic regression model library which is there. So let's do that, right? Explain, we see ExcelR, right? Explain ExcelR. See, it added some explanation already. Scikit-learn, also known as sklearn, is a popular open source machine learning library. It has all these things. Let's ask it, explain the top machine learning libraries of Python. Let's also ask the same thing here. Okay, is the Excel sheet still shared? Okay, sorry. Let me repeat. Sorry for that. I was on another screen. Is it visible now? Yes. Quick thumbs up if it is visible. Let me recap and do the thing again. Okay. Let's give me Python code for logistic regression and explain. So see, it has given us a boilerplate in terms of the basic code, right? And then it explains also. See this, it explains also. Here I have typed explain the top machine learning libraries of Python. So it tells me scikit-learn, TensorFlow, PyTorch, Keras, XGBoost, LightGBM, Pandas, although not strictly a machine library, but a machine learning library, but it is used for data pre-processing and manipulation. See, it also gives you the related library, that much context it is able to build. Now we have got some boilerplate code, right? Which means it is a repeat, a basic code for work. Ask it and explain, just ask, explain sklearn. I'm going to write explain sklearn. Sure. So it explains scikit-learn, what all are its applications, including all these areas, e-commerce, finance, healthcare, computer vision, and so on. And it also gives you references. Now this one is Chat GPT. Let it load. It might have slowed down because I'm using a free version, right? I haven't upgraded to Plus. So I don't know how many questions I've already asked it in 2, 3 days. So it might have slowed down because of that. I'm not sure, or is it the load? Because it should not be this low, right? But that's irrespective of that is not related to the thing here. And by the way, this whole interaction with these LLM, Palm, or Chat GPT or BART type of models is called as prompt engineering, right? They call this a prompt, as you know, right? This is a prompt. So you can pass images, you can uh, uh, you can uh, uh, work with data sets, you can ask questions, you can ask for code, you can do a Q&A, you can ask for code. So this is an evolving area and a lot of prompt engineers have started to come up. This has just come up. If you see, this is called as a prompt, right? Voice is also possible. Let me try some voice. Tell me some question that you guys have, maybe in machine learning. Any questions that we want to ask this model? Let me ask. Explain neural net. Okay. Explain neural networks to us. Let's end it. Let's ask it, what are the disadvantages of neural networks? And let's also see where our chat GPT has reached. It has become slow. Complexity, data requirements, overfitting, interpretability, bias. Five of the most important problems with neural networks, and additional details, right? And so on. Okay, so firstly, Soumya Sri, um, this is not strictly a search engine, though it behaves like this. So we won't ask that question. Anuradha has asked a very good question. How do you work with biases? Let's ask that one. Pratik, data mining and machine learning are different. Let us also ask that. Madhu, mm, boilerplate means like a template, right? Boilerplate in technology world is a template. So you may have basic code and then you need to refine it, right? Now let me ask one by one. Differentiate between data mining and machine learning. Then let's learn about bias. So see, data mining is the process of extracting knowledge from data, which is mostly based on patterns and data warehousing and such things. Whereas machine learning is the process of allowing computers to learn without being explicitly programmed, right? Very good definition. See, data mining patterns using statistical methods, large amounts of data, patterns, year models, large amount of data uses algorithms, build models that can make predictions. Next question was bias. How do you treat bias in machine learning? Let's also ask here. not this one. How do you treat bias in machine learning? Very good question. So, data cleaning and pre-processing, feature selection, model selection, ensemble learning, explainable AI, very important. We'll study a little bit of it. Very nice. Who gave this question? So, Anuradha, bias in LLM also, yes. Bias can be built anywhere. When we human beings have bias, then obviously the models that we build will also have biases at times, right? So this has answered. Treating bias in machine learning is an important aspect. Data collection and processing, feature engineering, algorithmic technique, fairness aware algorithms, regularization, post processing techniques for fairness, evaluation and monitoring, ethical consideration, transparency. Very good. So video recording itself will be available to you, Buji. It will be available. Tough question. Variance and bias. Do not directly related at times, but let me think. Variance is data level. Bias refers to the output or, or the learning. Yes, see predictions. Exactly. Variance, on the other hand, is related to the data. Very good question. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. So cold working process and hot working process, a mechanical engineer is asking most likely. So let's ask, what is the difference between cold working process and hot working process for mechanical forging? Let's also ask to ChatGPT. Bard said no. Only ChatGPT is giving the answer. Very good question, Vivek. Okay, so I think any other questions? I have only this much for today. Amar, any other questions, students? Okay, so let's try that also, Suvarna. Android code to access data from two databases. Give me Android code to access data from two databases. Let's also ask Bard. This is obviously either Kotlin or Java, right? Second database helper. The whole boilerplate or template it is printing for us. Let's see here. I think Chat GPT answers are slightly more verbose at times, right? Students. Okay, what is the actual job I can do? In AI ML, you can do many things. You remember the first day we discussed data engineer, data scientist, data analyst, business analyst, product manager, and so on. So refer the first day's recording and you'll be able to see what kind of roles you can play. It is not necessary that you always know a job in terms of coding only. You can do a lot of non-coding things as well. What are the limitations of Python? So that's a good question. And explain difference between Java and Python. So explain difference between Java and Python. And let's ask here, what are the limitations of Python? Superb difference. So it talks in terms of ecosystem and libraries, development philosophy, application domains, performance, typing, which is the data types or variable types, syntax and readability. And here the limitations. So speed is a limitation, memory usage is a limitation, memory leaks, web development is it is suited for it. It is not suited for web development or like some other languages like JavaScript or PHP. PH security, it is not as secure as some other languages like Java or C Sharp. Good. Lots of questions. Yes, Prateek. So companies do ask for questions in terms of years of experience for data engineers. So you can probably do um, such courses which you are attending to help, right? That can be something that can do. I don't have a direct connect in terms of immediate placement, but I think Amar is better handled to answer that. How do I refer model output using Android apps? So there are two, three ways, Rakhi. There are some models which work on edge computing, like, very small footprint models for memory and processing power on your mobiles, or you can run it remotely and expose them through REST APIs and then consume on your Android app. So that is possible. I have heard that it is supporting. I haven't upgraded it. I'm going to check out the image part of it, Suvarna, and I will update you. I am also experimenting just like you. It's a 2, 3 month old thing, right? Discovered or invented Python? We'll check. Okay. So we will close here. Amar, for today I am done.
Okay. So guys, please mark your attendance. I'm sharing the attendance in the chat box. Meanwhile, if you have any query or question for me or as well as needs, sir, please ask.
So I'll show you some models that run on mobile, right? Models that on device machine learning is there. I had read a bit about it, right? So they have their own smaller libraries which are there. And obviously, the second model is you can use REST API, right? So your backend could be in the cloud or whatever, and you just consume using that. How does that happen? So let me show it to you on. So see, there are two models, or you can do mix and match. If this is your mobile, you can use some of your resources to run MLAI for models which are optimized for lower footprint, right? That can be done, and you can run your app here. Or your app is here, mobile app, right? You can use REST APIs to, let's say, connect to cloud and then also run. Or you can do a mix and match, right? You can do a mix and match of both, which many people do. There are also GPU type or neural chips which are now available on mobile phones and so on, which help in all such processing, image processing and so on. Got it, Raki? Any other question? Okay, so Amar, I will stop here. I don't see any other question. Thank you.
Yeah. So guys, any query or question, please drop in the chat box. I will take it up. Okay, guys, I'm sharing attendance link with you once again. Please mark your attendance and share your valuable feedback as well. Sir, my WhatsApp number has changed. Should I enter the new one? Anuradha, yeah, you can. Please make sure your email ID is same for all the days.
So we have
Pratik, I'm sharing my WhatsApp number with you. Please drop me a chat.
Varsha asks how many days are left. So we have 7 more days. 8 are done. 7 more. Okay, so Amar, I will log off if you allow me to.
Yeah, sure, you can. Sir, will there be any issue if there is a change in address? Yeah, because it's creating two accounts via different email IDs and the attendance is going conflicted. So I will request to that Rajeshwar. Please make sure you are using only one email ID for that. If you feel that Rajeshwar, you used your two email IDs, so drop an email to edl@excelr.com. Will help on the same. If you're struggling at the time of certification, okay? Yeah, Anuradha, you can update that. Rajeshwar, don't worry about the home address. I'm just talking about the email address. So your email address should be the same for all 15 days. Anuradha, actually, I didn't get you. Can you please elaborate? Should I update you the new WhatsApp number? Yeah, sure, Anuradha. You can share it over. Yes, guys, anything else? Sir, I want to ask that I missed yesterday's attendance. So will I get certificate for this or not? Can you explain, please? So 60% attendance is mandatory for certification, okay? Sharia, sir, I'm not getting notification when class is starting. So you need to join via LMS. I hope you have LMS access. Sir, my chat not read by Neil, sir. Okay, I will inform Neil, sir, Harsha. Don't worry about that. On tomorrow session, we'll take it up, okay? Shrishti, yeah, no problem, Shrishti. So guys, don't worry about the certificates. You will receive it via registered email ID, okay? So we'll explain each and everything regarding to certificate in the last session. You're welcome. Yes, guys, if you don't have any query or question now, you can leave the session. So we are done with the day. Do we get the certificate in hand, sir, or online? So it's a digital copy. You will receive via email. Clear? Attendance link. Yeah, Anil, I'm sharing with you. Okay, I think there is no any question. So we'll wind up for the day. So thank you so much all of you for joining the session. We'll meet you on tomorrow at same time. Okay, guys. Bye. Atirnath, you hello.
Yeah, Amar.
Yeah, you can end the stream.
Yeah.